The Kansas City Chiefs clinched a playoff spot, 11-1. Another victory just now, 19-17 over the Raiders. Keeps them at the top of their division. But they've all been close.
The last four especially. The Raiders game, the Panthers game, 30-27. Denver, the blocked field goal, 16-14. Even before that, another one in the last 5 weeks decided by a very narrow margin.
Their defensive tackle, Chris Jones, he seems to have a different view of this trend. Doesn't see these close wins as a problem, sees them as valuable, actually.
He thinks they're preparing them for the playoffs. Argues that playoff games are almost always close. Every possession has a lot of weight. Going through these nail-biting finishes, he thinks, will make them more resilient, better equipped to handle the pressure of the postseason.
Interesting way to look at it. But if we look at the performances, are there concerning trends? Against the Raiders, they allowed 434 yards. And their offense, especially later in the game, seemed to struggle.
You're highlighting a crucial point. Winning is the ultimate goal. But how they're getting these victories does raise questions. Jones himself has said these haven't been the prettiest wins. He even uses the term ugly wins to describe them. But he emphasizes that a win is a win. They can learn from these, he thinks. Even a less-than-ideal performance with a win is positive.
Understandable perspective, I guess. The Chiefs are aiming for a third consecutive Super Bowl title. That's an incredibly difficult thing to do.
Yeah.
Huge pressure to keep up that success.
Leads to a critical question. Can they really get that third Super Bowl win in a row while relying on these close, sometimes unconvincing victories? Is that sustainable in the long run, especially as they go into the playoffs where the competition ramps up?
Let's dig into the Raiders game more. They allowed 434 yards, yet they still won. Is that a red flag? Some deeper defensive issues that they need to address.
It definitely needs a closer look. The Chiefs' defense, historically a cornerstone of their success, seemed uncharacteristically vulnerable in that game.
Their offense had struggles too, especially towards the end. 2 3-and-outs in the fourth quarter. Unusual for a team known for their offensive firepower. Almost like they lost momentum, let their foot off the gas.
Worrying trend, especially as the playoffs approach, suggests a lack of killer instinct, the kind you expect from championship-caliber teams. The ability to dominate an opponent and close out games decisively, that seems to be missing.
Two contrasting narratives here. On one hand, you have Chris Jones emphasizing the value of these ugly wins, focusing on the positives. On the other hand, we see performances that raise concerns about their consistency, their dominance. How do we reconcile those?
It's a puzzle. Maybe Jones is trying to instill confidence in his team. Maybe subtly acknowledging they need to improve could be his way of managing expectations. They are the reigning champions, immense pressure to live up to that. Maybe he's taking some of that pressure off his teammates.
Trying to shift the focus away from how they're winning to the fact they are still winning, even if it isn't always pretty. A deliberate strategy to maintain their morale and belief.
It's possible he might be emphasizing learning from these experiences rather than panicking over the occasional slip-up. The question is if the players buy into his message, and if this approach will really work in the long run.
Winning close games consistently, though, does say a lot about their resilience and experience. They've been in these tough spots before and found ways to come out on top.
No denying that. But to repeat as Super Bowl champions, they need more than just resilience. They need that dominance back, that ability to control games, to dictate how the game is played.
Can't just rely on those last-minute heroics or lucky breaks. Might work in the regular season, in the playoffs, against the best teams. They need a more complete and consistent performance.
The Denver game is a perfect example, won by just 2 points thanks to that blocked field goal. Highlighted both their ability to persevere in tight situations and their vulnerability to upsets.
Relying on these narrow victories, does it point to complacency maybe? Or are they taking these wins for granted, assuming they can always pull it out in the end?
Possible. When you're used to winning, easy to believe you're invincible. Leads to a lack of urgency maybe, not paying attention to detail, can be detrimental in the long run.
Especially in a league as competitive as the NFL. Any team can beat any other on any given Sunday. One slip-up, one missed opportunity can derail a whole season.
Exactly. Margin for error is tiny, especially in the playoffs. They need to rediscover that hunger, that relentless pursuit of excellence, the thing that marked their previous championship runs.
They need to dominate their opponents from the opening whistle to the final buzzer. Leave no doubt about their superiority.
That's it. Regain that aura of invincibility, the thing that made them such a force before.
Can they do it? Can they flip the switch, reclaim that dominance?
Only time will tell. They have the talent, the experience, the leadership. But the challenge is real. The stakes are as high as they get.
These remaining weeks of the regular season are crucial. They need to use these games to fine-tune their game, fix their weaknesses, and prepare for the intensity in the playoffs.
It's a race against time. They need to iron out the wrinkles and rediscover that championship form. If they can do that, they'll be a force to be reckoned with.
That Carolina game, another close one, 30-27, exposed some areas that need attention, and they need it now.
What specifically caught your eye?
Their defense, especially against the run, seems shaky at times. They let McCaffrey have a real impact on the game.
That's a valid concern. Think about the running backs they might face in the playoffs. If they can't contain McCaffrey, imagine what someone like Derrick Henry could do.
Run defense needs to get a lot better if they want to make a deep playoff run. Can't be giving up big plays on the ground, especially when it matters most. Need to be stout, disciplined there.
I agree. Wasn't just the run defense in that game. Seemed to struggle with penalties too. Costly flags, extended drives for the Panthers, put their own offense in bad spots.
Penalties are killers in football. Disrupt momentum, often lead to points for the other team. Mental errors, lack of discipline can be their undoing, especially in the playoffs where every play is magnified.
Championship teams are known for their discipline, their attention to detail. Minimize mistakes, especially those self-inflicted ones. The Chiefs need to get back to that level of execution.
Looking at these close wins, is there a common thread, something that explains this trend?
Most prominent commonality is their inconsistency. They have moments of brilliance, show flashes of that championship pedigree. But then there are stretches where they look vulnerable, out of sync, not the dominant team we're used to seeing.
Haven't really found their rhythm this season. Still trying to find that consistent level of play that defines the top teams.
Like they're still under construction, still figuring out who they are, how to best utilize their strengths.
5 weeks left in the regular season to address these issues. Clock is ticking, and the playoffs are coming fast.
Gotta make the most of these remaining games. Fine-tune their game, build chemistry, establish who they are. Playoffs are a different beast. They need to be ready when they get there.
Can they adjust in such a short time? Are they capable of taking their game to the next level, the level another championship run requires? Or are we seeing the start of their decline?
Too soon to count them out. They've proven they can adapt, overcome adversity, and peak at the right time. But the challenge is bigger this time.
The competition is tough. The margin for error is slim. They have to prove they're still the team to beat.
Their journey from here will be something to watch. The pressure is building. The world's watching. They have a legacy to protect, a championship to defend.
We'll go deeper into their journey and talk about their prospects in our next segment.
Until then, think about this. Are these close wins a sign of their championship resilience or a warning? A hint of potential vulnerability? The Chiefs going for a third straight Super Bowl. It's definitely a story to follow. Winning these close games, it shows their resilience, their experience.
But is that enough? That grit and determination to get them another championship? Or are we starting to see some cracks?
Recent performances, even though they're winning, they raise questions. Are they consistent? Can they dominate like they used to?
The defense especially. Seems to be a weak spot, letting up a lot of yards, struggling to contain those offenses.
Like against the Raiders, 434 yards they gave up. A prime example of that vulnerability.
A stark contrast to that dominant defense that helped them win those Super Bowls.
Can they get that back, that defensive power, fix those weaknesses, become that suffocating unit again? That's the big question for the playoffs.
A strong defense is key in the postseason. Competition's tough. Every yard matters. Every point. It's the difference between winning and going home.
It's not just the defense either. Offense is strong, capable of those big plays. But they've been inconsistent too.
2 3-and-outs in the fourth quarter against the Raiders. Makes you wonder, do they have that killer instinct? Can they finish off an opponent when they have the chance?
That's a dangerous habit to have, especially in the playoffs. Every possession matters. You miss chances, they can come back to bite you.
So how do they fix these inconsistencies? How do they bring back that urgency, that dominance, but keep that resilience they've shown?
They need that swagger back, that aura of invincibility, the thing that made them so tough to beat. Control the game, control the line of scrimmage, dominate from beginning to end.
Leave no doubt. Show everyone they're the team to beat, the reigning champions, and they plan to stay on top.
These next few weeks are huge. They need to use these regular season games like playoff prep, fine-tune everything, fix those weak spots, find that championship form again.
Time is running out. Playoffs are almost here. They need to be at their best when they get there.
Experience and leadership, this is where it counts. Can they rally the team, make the right adjustments, step up their game to the level it takes to win another championship?
Or are these close wins a sign of things to come? Are they starting to fall apart? Is their time at the top coming to an end?
We'll have to see. But one thing's for sure, it's going to be a tough road, and they'll need to dig deep to make history again.
It's going to be fascinating to watch. Will they rise to the challenge and prove they're still the team to beat? Or will they crumble under the pressure and watch their dynasty fall apart?
We'll see. The stakes are high. Everyone's watching.
Wrapping up our look at the Chiefs and these close wins, what stands out to you?
It's a bit of a puzzle, their journey this season. They have these moments where they look brilliant, resilient, show they're still champions, but then you see those inconsistencies, the lack of dominance we're used to seeing.
Chris Jones, in his view on these close wins, that adds a whole other layer, seeing them as learning experiences.
It does. Suggests a team that's aware, they know they need to improve, but they still believe they can win. It's tough balancing that, recognizing their weaknesses, but not losing sight of what they're good at.
Winning close games like this, it does show their experience, that winning attitude they have.
No doubt they're resilient, they face tough situations, pressure, and they keep winning. But to get that third Super Bowl in a row, they have to play better.
It takes more than just resilience to win it all. They need to dominate again, like they used to. Take control.
These next few weeks are key. These last regular season games, they're not just about getting into the playoffs. They need to use these games to get better, solidify who they are as a team, rediscover that championship swagger.
The pressure is on. Everyone's watching. Can they overcome these challenges? Are they still the team to beat? They need to show that these close wins aren't a sign they're getting worse. Show they can adapt.
It's going to be tough. Very little room for error. The competition is strong. It's fascinating to watch them. Will they step up, reclaim that top spot, become one of the greatest dynasties in NFL history?
Their answer to that question determines everything. What happens next will define their legacy. The stage is set. Stakes are high. Everyone's waiting to see what happens next.
Goodbye. See you in the next video.
Goodbye, and see you in the next video.